Are you constantly at war with the heavy burdens and expectations of life? What if I told you there was a simple solution to everything? You in? In that case, join us every Tuesday and Thursday evenings for some community knitting. Designed for all my adrenaline-seeking comrades who want nothing more than to exceed the very boundaries of the best life has to offer. Now, if that's a little too extreme for you, don't be embarrassed. You might consider learning to ride a motorcycle instead. And you'd be just like me. Jokes aside, riding a motorcycle is dangerous, almost as much as knitting. So it's important that if you decide to adopt either of these hobbies, you ought to do some research and take the proper steps to minimize injury. And now I'm bleeding. The very first motorcycle was created by two German inventors, Gottlieb and Wilhelm, back in the year 1885. And the first person to ride it, you may ask? Well, it wasn't going to be the inventors. They know they just slapped an engine on a bike frame, so they flipped a coin and Gottlieb's son would be our lucky winner. Father of the Year award had two less competitors that year. But in all fairness, this bike had maybe 1 horsepower and a top speed of 15 kilometers an hour. In fact, it's no worse than the modern Power Wheels you see toddlers terrorizing the sidewalks with. Today's motorcycles are built vastly differently. Beginner bikes are capable of reaching speeds beyond 150 kilometers an hour with ease. And that doesn't leave much room for error. You may not have needed a helmet back then, but if you value your ability to recite the alphabet, you'll want to wear one now. So how are we supposed to get into the world of motorcycles without booking an express trip to Hades? Though it was admittedly a fun game, you can avoid the real-life scenario by educating yourself from a professional, whether that be a responsible friend of yours, some YouTube videos, or my personal favorite, a motorcycle safety course. With that, you get to learn directly under the guidance of a professional, so you know exactly what it is you're getting yourself into. I'll take this one. The really cool thing about partaking in the course is you're able to learn on a rental motorcycle. And since you're likely a beginner, they're not expecting you to take that great care of it. You can stall it, drop it, kick it, and hug it. As much as you want. Now the course I took was over a weekend. Friday we slept, learned crucial safety tips and theoretical knowledge. Then Saturday and Sunday was spent on the bikes preparing to face the course of doom. Wow. It's not that bad, really. The theoretical portion is stocked full of useful information. But since about 40% of you have already clicked off the video, I'm just gonna jump right into the part where I tempt fate. Going into the first day, I'll admit I was having concerns about my qualifications to operate this machinery. For the last 8 hours, all they've been doing is telling me how dangerous these things are. And now we're just gonna stroll over to the lot, hop on a few bikes, and hope for the best. Our instructor, who would be tasked with the challenge of keeping the 5 of us alive for the duration of the weekend, was none other than a former circus stunt rider. Which, if that isn't just the purest form of foreshadowing, I don't know how I could have made this script any better. Now the first thing you'll notice when getting on a motorcycle for the first time is how heavy these contraptions really are. Thankfully, you sit on the bike, and not the other way around. In terms of getting the bike moving forward, you'll quickly find out just how limited the room for error is. The difference between 5 and 30 kilometers an hour is about a 15-degree rotation of your wrist. This undoubtedly varies across bikes, but I found it quite eye-opening, as it was another potential method of destruction I'd need be wary of. Another thing I couldn't help but notice, why does the clutch look exactly the same as the front brake? I know my left and rights pretty intuitively, so I'll be okay. But imagine driving on the highway and slamming the front brakes while you're trying to shift gears. I didn't feel like I was doing significantly worse than anyone else. I'd see someone stall their bike, I'd stall mine twice. I see someone knock over a pylon, I drive over the curb. They wobble a little bit while going around a turn, and I'd launch my bike into Neptune. I do recall it got to the point where the instructor called me over and said, "Hey Andrew, looks like you're having fun out there, and that's great. But do you think you could stop dropping the bike, though?" Oh yeah, of course. Silly me. I didn't realize we weren't supposed to be throwing them to the ground every chance we got. Next you're going to tell me to stop crashing into the other participants. No promises. It came to the halfway point of our day, and in turn, the end of our first session. I struck up some conversation with a fellow rider named Dave. He was a bit of an older fella, but we united over the fact that we were likely the most dangerous riders the institution had ever seen. In fact, he was only taking this course because he crashed one of his biker friends' Harleys into a road barricade. That's cool, Dave. I'm taking this course so I don't crash my bike into a road barricade. We decided to steal some rental bikes and go get lunch. I'm just kidding. It was across the street. We just walked over there. One of us had an easier time with that. But the two of us got along pretty well. But you know how there's a point in every conversation where you've exhausted everything you have in common? So someone has to start up another topic, where you just sit there awkwardly staring at each other. Well, Dave changed the topic, and revealed to me his dilemma. He was trying to decide what kind of SUV to buy, and he had narrowed down his options to either a Porsche or Lambo, which were both easily $100,000 plus cars, but he wanted my opinion on it. Well, it'd be pretty cool if I could pay my tuition next year. To think I offered to pay for that man's lunch. To say I made it through the rest of the day without a hitch is easily the understatement of the century. Dave and I continued our menacing ways as the instructor continually introduced more and more new techniques. I was doing terrible. That was, until I wasn't. Something shifted inside me. I started to gain a little confidence, and as I did, everything began making sense. The day would come to an end and I would return to my hotel feeling confident. Was tomorrow going to decide whether or not I'd be allowed to partake in the group ride? Yes. Was the name of the test also slightly concerning? Yes. Did I leave the sink running? I got up the next day, the sun was shining, the birds were singing, and I was in pain. Everything hurt, and I couldn't understand why. I had just sat on a bike all day. I rolled my way down to my car and headed directly to... I showed up to the lot where we practiced, and sure enough, it had been transformed into a gigantic obstacle course. I could only assume this was the course of... Are you going to do that every time I say course of... That probably won't get annoying. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something different. It was a shiny new SUV, and it was a Lambo. Could that be Dave? Did he actually take my advice? Surely enough, it was. It was just his wife dropping him off, so I didn't get much time to admire it. But to think someone actually took my advice seriously. So back to the matter at hand. We were going to spend our final session practicing the course of... This helped calm my nerves. I didn't have to nail it the first try. I got 4 hours to get this course figured out. Then I just have to complete it once. The confidence from the previous day's session was still in my head. And to be honest, the course was really just an accumulation of everything we practiced the day prior. So my new mission was to have fun, and just enjoy the opportunity I had to practice my skills. Or, I could see how quickly I can make this turn. It probably looked a lot more serious than it was, because as I sat up, I saw the instructor sprinting his way over from the other side of the lot, spilling his coffee on himself as he ran, and for the first time all weekend, checked to see if I was alright before picking the bike back up. Some words of wisdom: the only thing worse than an inexperienced rider is a confident, inexperienced rider. And the cut wasn't too bad, and it was now time for the examination. No way my injury was going to sideline me for this part. But my last run had kinda ended badly, and all that aforementioned confidence of mine, gone. Dave went first, and he went slowly. Very slowly. My wound had pretty much made a full recovery by the time he crossed the finish line, but seeing his approach, and the fact that he passed, I couldn't help but wonder if maybe that's the way I should do it too. And now, it was my turn. One completely metaphorically and physically broken Andrew versus the course of doom. Here goes nothing. Start, stop, tight right turn, weave through these pylons, straight line, second gear, third gear, emergency stop. Limbs still intact? Yep. It's now time for the final obstacle, the 360-degree turn. Still my arch nemesis to this day. It had gotten the best of me last time. I had the scars to prove it. But this time, what a rush. I parked my bike, fist bumped Dave, and awaited my results. Alright, Andrew, I've added up the tallies, and you failed. No, I'm just kidding, you passed. Congratulations. Motorcycles are fun, and though they're inherently dangerous, so are a lot of things. Like knitting, for example. It's all about taking the proper steps to mitigate the risk and acting with common sense. I know, it sounds lame, but look at this scarf I made.